Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammadin asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi washabihi ajmain. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. Greetings. Welcome to CEE UTM webinar series. This program is proudly brought to you by the School of Chemical and Energy Engineering under the course Industrial Seminar and Profession SETK 1511 and also Center for Engineering Education, University Technology Malaysia, CEE UTM. We are very honored today because we have a very special guest to discuss about a very interesting title. The title that we have today is Engineering Ethics, the Guiding Conscience to Shape Tomorrow's Exemplary Engineers. Before that, let me just introduce myself. I'm Zaki Yamani bin Zakaria, a senior lecturer from the School of Chemical and Energy Engineering, University Technology Malaysia. I am also the director for Center for Engineering Education, University Technology Malaysia. Before we proceed further, let me just request you to please subscribe, like, and share this YouTube channel that belongs to Center for Engineering Education. And also, I would like to remind you that please listen tentatively because we have a very fantastic panels that we specially brought to you for this event. Please listen carefully and ask questions. You can ask questions using the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. For the UTM Chemical Engineering first year students, please kindly scan your attendance using the QR code given by your respective lecturers from ISP course. And if you want, and for other participants from perhaps other universities, other departments outside of Malaysia perhaps, you can also sign in the attendance by using our Google form to receive an e-certificate. The e-certificate will be processed soon, and then once it's ready, we will deliver it to you to your email. Okay, I think it's time for me to begin to introduce our panels. We have two panels today, and one of the panel, let me just introduce the first one. It's IR Dr. Muhammad Fuad Abdullah. IR Dr. Muhammad Fuad Abdullah is the chairman and also board of directors of Gagasan Nadi Cergas Berhad. It's a public listed company, and also he's a member of board of directors University Tun Abdul Razak Sdn Berhad from 2017 until now. About his working experiences, I cannot say much because he's so experienced. Let me just briefly go through the years of experience that he have. From 1977 to 1983, he was an electrical engineer for Public Works Department Malaysia. And then from 1983 to 1992, he's the manager from Unifone Sdn Berhad. From 1996 to 2002, he served as a consulting engineer under 5H Associate Sdn Berhad. In 2003, he served as the Chief Executive Officer for Kausar Corporation Sdn Berhad. He is also the Managing Director of 5H Associates Sdn Berhad from 2004 to 2006. Amazingly, he has received a lot of awards. It's very long award, a very long list, but I'll just read one award, very prestigious award. He's the recipient of Tokoh Ma'al Hijrah tahun 1421 State of Selangor. And also, he won Anugerah Buku Negara 2015, category Science dan Islam. Without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Fuad to the screen. Assalamualaikum, Dr. Fuad.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan.
How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, Dr. Zaki. Very fine.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah.
Yes. Alhamdulillah. It's an honor to meet you because we have attempted to get you since last year. And now finally we managed to secure your time. And then we are really counting on your years and years of experiences serving the companies and so on. So anything maybe
Quantity is not a measure.
okay, but then we have heard good things about you, and we really look forward to listen to your brilliant insights later on. Okay.
Thank you.
And now I think I should introduce our second panel. Okay, shall I? So the second panel is Hajah Nurmahani Harun. She graduated as a chemical engineer from RMIT University, Melbourne, Australia in 1995. Hajah Nurmahani is the principal consultant for QMS Pro Sdn Bhd, with more than 18 years experience in the field of occupational safety and health and quality management system. Her involvement in industrial hygiene started back in 2003 as a registered chemical health risk assessor, CHRA, with the Department of Occupational Safe and Health, DOSH. She has since performed hundreds of CHRAs in various industries, rendering her expertise in assisting companies to comply with the applicable Occupational Safety and Health Act 1994. Her interest in industrial hygiene profession has made her the honorary secretary of the Malaysia Industrial Hygiene Association, MIHA, allowing for international networking with other industrial hygienists in Australia, UK, Europe, US, and Asia. She is also one of the authors and certified trainer of CHRA Manual 3rd edition 2017, which is published by DOSH Malaysia. Without further ado, let's bring in Hajah Nurmahani.
Hi, Dr. Zaki. Hi, everyone. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. What a very, very exciting entry. How are you, Nurmahani?
I'm fine, Alhamdulillah.
So I really appreciate you taking your time from your busy schedule. I heard earlier on that this time of the year is your busiest moment, doing auditing jobs and so on, and you have only 2 hours for this session, and you managed to put yourself in this session and to share for our students. So we really, really appreciate that for you taking time out of your busy schedule. And I heard from our previous conversation that after this, you are going to continue your auditing work until midnight.
I hope it won't be happening like that.
Alright,
It just so happens that this time during this forum, we had things to do. So, but I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's fantastic. Just a brief information for both of you. This session is specially conducted for the first year chemical engineering student. They just entered University Technology in Malaysia, and mostly all of them are studying virtually online from their home. And we have about 140 to 150 local Malaysian students, and we have about nearly 20 international students. We hope that besides our students coming to listen to this talk, we are hoping as well for other people from other places, maybe your own networks and so on, our networks and so on, so they can also enjoy and learn from this session, inshallah. Okay. And then once again, I would like to remind our participants that we are going to have 2 sessions, the first part and second part. So in between the first part and second part, we'll take questions. And because of that, we highly urge you to listen carefully and also to ask questions. And you can do that by putting the question at the chat box next to you on the right-hand side of your YouTube channel, your YouTube account or YouTube screen. Okay, so I think we can begin. Are you guys ready?
Inshallah.
Okay, so this is going to be a topic that actually discusses about ethics, and the topic is the guiding conscience to shape tomorrow's exemplary engineers. But what is ethics actually? What is engineering ethics? The students, our chemical engineering first year students, was just introduced to ethics yesterday or today. So maybe they are not really sure yet what is engineering ethics. Maybe Haja Mahani can help to clarify that.
All right, thank you, Dr. Zaki. All right, so today we're going to talk about engineering ethics, right? So what's ethics? So I think everyone can Google what ethics are. You have also been introduced yesterday in your course, online course on what ethics are. Well, it's basically doing what's ethical. Then we find out what's ethical. So how do you define ethical, the ethical portion of the engineering part? So it's about doing what's morally correct. Okay, moral principles that governs a person's behavior in conducting an activity. Okay, moral can be subjective from one another. It really depends on what is commonly acceptable that you know of. The professional ethical behavior should be guided by a set of principles actually. And engineering ethics boils down to what's morally correct in the profession that you are in. Now, for me, I am a qualified chemical engineer, but I do not practice chemical engineering. So my line of work is industrial hygienist. Okay, so what is industrial hygienist? So we are talking about the art of anticipating, recognizing, and also finding the control hazards that controls for the hazards that you have in the workplace. That is to make sure that people like you and me, the employees, are all taken care of, and the well-beings are also considered. Okay, so we look at trees and a lot of other things that we need to do. For example, related to chemicals, related to noise, ergonomics, and so on. So we anticipate all these hazards and find the solution to them. So why ethics is important? Because when you are an engineer, either you're practicing engineer or you have other competencies. Like for me, I have chemical health risk assessment competency, which is a competency given by issued by Department of Occupational Safety and Health. Although I do not practice engineering per se, I'm still abiding to the code of ethics. Okay, and this is very important in the line of work that I do. So if you talk about engineering ethics related to you, let's talk about what ethics are that is more relevant to a student. For example, we know that when you do your assignments, for example, plagiarizing, everybody knows that it's not right. Okay, copying somebody else's work, this is not morally correct, and you know that. Now, you may get away with copying someone else's work, but deep down inside, you know that you have done something wrong. So it's not okay even if people do not find out. But if people finds out, you can get expelled. Now, just imagine in the workplace, you can relate this when you need to actually do some reports for your company, for example, and you cut and paste, you plagiarize somebody else's work. It is just not right. Okay, so it might be inaccurate. It is doesn't represent the right thing, and it's not ethical and can be very damaging. Now, another thing that you can relate to students would have been being punctual. That's another ethical conduct that you need to have. All right, going to lectures in the first place is morally correct. Okay, you want to do that. You respect your parents putting you in university and going to the lectures and listening to them. But if you're not punctual, you're just not respecting other people, and this is not morally correct. Okay, so just imagine when you are in work, if you have the habit of being late, late for work, late for meetings, late for submission of reports. So just you can imagine the consequences that can come out from doing this thing. Just not being ethically, not having an ethical conduct in the place of work. Okay, it's also the same thing if you guys, students will have assignments, for example, in a team, you're riders, you don't contribute. Just imagine in the work life, if this is happening, then when you embark on a certain design project and auditing, even assessments, and you're not exercising or executing your own part, so it will affect the entire team's effort. So you need to have this good moral backgrounds and exercise the ethical issues to have a good engineering ethics, so that you can do better in life and you can have a more sustainable workplace. Dr. Zaki.
All right, thank you very much for the early introduction on explaining what is engineering ethics and also ethics. Inside your point just now, you mentioned and also provided examples on how students can be ethical, which is very good and related to the students. However, can you also provide some industrial authentic examples to for engineering ethics to take place? If you can share some examples, perhaps.
Okay. Um, I am talking on the point of an industrial hygienist, because this is what I do. Okay. Well, in a typical engineering work, when you do design, for example, okay, when you see something that is not correct in the design, or you conceal some information, you need to take actions on that. Okay. So it just cannot be concealed, and because it will affect a lot of people from the actions that you do. So having this engineering, you are in the engineering line, and you have the power to actually do some changes and some actions. That would be something that is something that you should need to exercise in your workplace.
Or maybe there's some connection problem there with Hajah Normahani. I think that's fine, no problem. We can get back to her soon. Maybe we can continue with Dr. Fuad. So, Dr. Fuad, I'm going to ask you something. Oh, are you done with your answering just now, Hajah
Yeah,
Normahani? We
yeah,
lost
I
you along
am.
the
I
way.
think, yeah. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
fine. Yeah, I'm sorry because somehow the internet connection suddenly goes berserk. So
Yeah, it's okay.
yeah,
That's normal. Sometimes that happens.
please bear
Uh,
with me. Yeah.
and thanks a lot for the example in the context of industrial hygienist. So that's a very interesting example that you have portrayed just now. And now I think I shall move my next issue to Dr. Fuad. Dr. Fuad, like Hajah Mahani, I'm also a chemical engineer by discipline, and you are, I believe, an electrical engineer. But you see, we studied from long time ago. Between you and Hajamani, I think I am the youngest, but still during our degree we have not been introduced properly to engineering ethics. That means when I started to work before, um, I really, of course, we would like to be a good engineer, but we are not really trained or properly, officially being educated about engineering ethics. So now, luckily, the students are being taught or being slightly, the engineering ethics is being embedded slightly inside the some of the courses, such as this course. So, what do you think? Can uh, why is engineering ethics so important for students of engineering?
Thank you, Dr. Zaki. I think you must have graduated before 2000 or something like that. Because after the year 2009, we have been admitted into the Washington Accord. When we were admitted to the Washington Accord, we follow the so-called graduate attributes required of graduate of engineering students. If you can share my slides, I can just quickly run through the slide that shows that the graduate attributes, which is actually under the it is under the International Engineering Alliance, where 29 countries come together. They are the signatories of the Washington Accord, and this Washington Accord is an agreement. Accord is an agreement. They specify very, in very specifically specify that this ethics is required as a graduate attribute. When you graduate, you need to know something about ethics. So they put actually two knowledge profile under WK7, talk about knowledge of the role of engineering in society and identify issues in engineering practice in the discipline, such as professional responsibility of an engineer to public safety and sustainable development, as well as the work profile, knowledge profile WK9, which is specifically ethics. This is actually the latest document on issue on the 21st of June, about 3-4 months ago, this year, specifying ethics, inclusive behavior and conduct, knowledge of professional ethics, responsibility and norms of engineering practice, awareness of the need for diversity. So now ethics about knowledge of professional ethics, and it actually also includes the awareness of diversity, ethnicity, gender, age, all this diversity, and also inclusive attitude. So we talk about inclusivity, or inclusiveness and diversity. And this is actually under criteria 2 of your program outcome of all the engineering programs in Malaysia, approved by the Board of Engineers in Malaysia. Board of Engineers is a signatory to the Washington Accord, and the attributes of a engineering graduate is specified under program outcome Romans 7, 6, 7, and 8. You can see that WK7 is actually the specification for the knowledge profile, and 6 is on engineer and society, that you talk actually here about health, safety to the public, and legal and cultural issues, how it will affect the public in our engineering work, and also environment and sustainability, talking about sustainability, and also Romans 7 under the program outcome of a graduate is ethics, is under ethics. So apply ethical principle and commit to professional ethics and responsibility and the norms of engineering. And you can see that this knowledge profile require this. So at the same time, it's not only the requirement of the graduate to graduate with the knowledge of ethics. When the graduate become a graduate engineer, become a graduate engineer and register with the Board of Engineers, in order to work as an engineer, the Board of Engineers has these 2 documents called the Regulations of Engineers, Registration of Engineers Regulation 1990, is updated in 2015, which is about 6 years ago. And also there is a circular number 001 called the Code of Conduct of Registered Person. Registered person will be registered engineers, registered technologists, and registered inspector of work. So engineers is one of the registered person. Under this regulation, 1990, you can see that they are actually is under section 23 to 33, 10 section or 11 sections, and this 11 section, it actually spelled out a registered person shall discharge his professional duties with due skill, care, diligence, and good faith. So all these words are very value laden. All these words, due skill and care, due diligence, and good faith. They are all very value laden. You can discuss and talk about what is the due skill, what is due care, what is due diligence, and also in good faith. The other one is whole paramount, the safety, health, and interest of the public. So you talk about public interest in terms of health and safety, and also number 3 under section 24, take reasonable step to make sure that we don't destroy the environment. So it's about sustainability. Why we need ethics? Why we need ethics? You see, engineers work in a lot of places. Even though Haja Mahani is industrial hygienist, she is an engineer. Because engineer is engineering works actually. She is involved in professional engineering services. It can be said professional engineering services because it needs the engineering knowledge. But if we look at this slide, you see under COP26, which is the climate change meeting, which will take place soon in November, I think, in Cairo. There is the document leak now revealing that nations are lobbying to change the key climate reports. They have a climate report for their country, but they actually are not. The leaks reveals Saudi Arabia, Japan, and Australia are among countries asking the UN to play down the need to move rapidly away from fossil fuel. It also shows some wealthy country or nations are questioning paying more to poorer state to move to greener technology. So also the lobbying raised question for the COP26 climate summit in November. So you can see that this is it's really very unethical. They have agreed something in the last meeting. They're supposed to come up with a report how they are going to address the climate change issue. But now these countries, they are advanced. I mean, they are advanced countries like Japan and Australia, but also Saudi Arabia. They are now trying to change what they had agreed. The other thing, why also ethics is important, you can see that under this news, this is the recent news, I think in September this year, 2021, MACC confirms arrest of 3 of his senior officers over alleged abuse of power and misconduct. You see, okay, they may not be engineers, but there is the importance of ethics in a person. So engineers, students in engineering should be aware of the ethical issue. This is a statement of the police. So far, the police have not received a report on the alleged theft of case material. It's a case material. That means there is a case and there is a material about that case involving $6 million US in cash belonging to an individual was under investigation. How can that thing be actually missing and taken by an officer entrusted with his responsibility? Officers like this is just an engineer. An engineer is being entrusted to do his job, to undertake certain responsibility, certain project, and the engineer is supposed to act with due diligence and due care. You have to be very careful to do your job properly, due diligence to ensure that what you do is proper and check, double check, and so on. These are due diligence, and if we fail to do that, then we will not be carrying out our responsibility as an engineer according to the code of conduct. You can see that in the regulators use conduct, code of conduct rather than code of ethics. But the word ethics is used in more general term, but code of conduct is very specific on the conduct, on the behavior. But ethics is more general in looking at what is right and what is wrong. But conduct is more specific to regulatory requirement or even contractual requirement for engineering society. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Zaki.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Fuad. It's a very interesting, factual, with good examples that you have shown there. So even I learned something. By the way, just now you mentioned about you probably graduated before 2000, the year 2000. Yes, the answer is yes. I graduated in 1999. So one more year after that, then only maybe I can get the lesson from engineering ethics. So It's fine, no problem. But luckily, we are blessed that our younger generation now has a very established system to know and learn about ethics. All right. So thank you very much for the explanation. And I'll be asking you after this, after I ask Hajah Mahani something about IEM and BEM in terms of the ethics. But now I'm going to ask Hajah Mahani to be on the screen because I'm going to ask something. Okay. So Hajah Mahani, just now there
Yes.
was some interruption of internet interruption, and
Yeah.
we were quite unfortunate because we cannot hear exactly what you want to convey. So you can continue to convey what you want to convey. However, on top of that, I'm going to need you to ask you to also add up on certain example when engineers conceal the truth. So if engineers conceal the truth, it can endanger the public. Maybe you can give some example and provide your views on that. On top of you continuing your previous session just now. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Zaki. So, yeah, I'm sorry about the internet connection just now. I just want to share with you that I actually attended this ethic course for industrial hygienist. And
Okay.
there was this one, and there's this is organized by Malaysia Industrial Association. That's MIHA in short. So there was
Oh,
this Japanese proverb that says, "The reputation of 1,000 years may be determined by the conduct of 1 hour." Okay, the reputation of 1,000 years may be determined by the conduct of 1 hour. So this is a powerful proverb that actually tells us what we do today is actually important because it will affect our reputation in the future. So ethical behavior that you have now will substantially give a very good reputation for you in the long run. So why is it that engineering ethics is important? So your conduct today, as I said earlier, affects the public, the client, the employees, the environment, and people around you, your loved ones, and also your profession itself. Now, professional ethics is very important because they have responsibilities as decision makers, and in doing so, we are subject to external influence in many cases. So we need boundaries, and hence we need to abide to the code of practice. So our code of ethics. Now, for example, you are not qualified in a certain field of engineering, and you're assigned to, and you're not a subject matter expert also. Then you're not supposed to embark on a project and falsify your credentials. Okay, this is a very simple example that relates to engineering ethics. In cases like this, you need to rope people from outside that can give the right qualification. Um, for example, if you're required to perform risk assessment at a chemical manufacturing facility, for example, and you need to anticipate the magnitude of risks that are involved. If you're not competent to do so, then there will be aspects that you will miss out. Okay, so accepting the job may not be ethical. Oversight of the hazard itself can affect your life, your well-being, affecting the public and also other people, especially when explosion happens, for example, or chemical release happens. Okay, environmental concerns can happen, and this also and you are not able to do a correct mitigation plan because you did not identify this earlier since you're not competent. Okay, so your profession is also going to be a disaster after that because of your misconduct. Now, so whenever we are in this kind of situation, you need to step back and think of what are the consequences of your actions. Okay, ask questions to yourself and never be afraid to ask. You know, we as students sometimes we are afraid to ask questions because we always think my questions might be a stupid question. But in your professional engineering work, you need to ask questions. You need to clarify something that you are not certain. Okay, communication is very important. Okay, so you need to ask yourself, are you breaking the law at any point? Does any action seems uncomfortable for you or it's just wrong? Or even when you want to take some actions, you ask yourself, would your loved ones be ashamed of you if you do something that is not ethical? Okay, understand the needs, relate the issues, and look at the broader context. Okay, And most importantly, before agreeing upon a course of action, communicate clearly. I stress on the communication because you need to make sure that this is correctly done. Understanding your expectation, understanding other people's expectation in making decisions is very important to avoid ethical pitfalls. Now, note that all of us who took up engineering course would not end up being a professional engineer in the real life. I'm not a professional engineer in the real life. I'm more on professional services, engineering services. Yeah. So ideally, we would go for professional recognition, like paying a title of engineer, like Ayah Fuad, but not everyone would. So they started their career and did not get the opportunity to be guided by a professional engineer, which is okay. So regardless, being qualified as an engineer, you still need to abide to the ethics set out by the Board of Engineers. Okay, this will be further illustrated, I guess, with Dr. Fuad in a short while. So engineering ethical is actually important. Now, Dr. Zaki asked just now, what happens when engineers can conceal the truth? Will it endanger the public? Well, concealing the truth means it's lying, not being honest. Okay, that is morally incorrect. Everybody knows this. Every culture knows this. Every religion teach you not to be, not to have this kind of behavior, lying and not being honest. So why would anyone want to do it? Lying is actually very difficult to sustain. Okay, it is very difficult to sustain because lies will create more lies, and you will run out of ideas soon. Okay, because you need to cover the lie that you have said in the first place, and then covering more of the lies. Okay, so the lies will create more lies. Okay. Now, doing the right thing because doing the right thing is easier in the long run, actually. Okay. So it's a matter of time if you lie or you conceal the truth. It's just a matter of time before someone actually finds out. And if they know that you're responsible for the process, then it will be devastating. Your reputation will be tarnished, definitely. Will it endanger public? Yes, definitely. I can relate to incidences related to safety and health. For example, if you're in charge of wastewater treatment plant in a company and require testing of effluent prior to release, if you falsify lab test data for effluents that and for the effluents that doesn't comply to DOE requirements, and you falsify the data saying that it complies, and these substances actually were released into stormwater drain, and hence causes pollution. This would affect the water catchment areas. Okay, high levels of contaminants will cause the water treatment facility to be halted. They have to stop operation, and this definitely will affect the water supply to public. Okay, so yes, you're concealing information, you're not telling the truth, will actually affect other peoples around you and also the public. Concealing the truth does affect the workers within the company too. For example, if you test workers' exposure to chemicals by allowing tests to be conducted not on chemicals that are being used. For example, in my line of work, we sometimes need to test how much is the chemical present in the air to know how much, what is the potential for that worker to inhale such hazardous chemical and hence have certain health hazard. Okay, sometimes when we do this testing, we need to do it when the worker is actually handling the said chemical. But there were cases where people do not do testing using the actual chemical itself. So definitely you will not get the correct answer. It doesn't reflect the actual hazard, the actual exposure that the worker is actually exposed to, and therefore it will not give the correct mitigation plans in the future because the hazard itself is not identified. So there are many others examples of disasters affecting publics because of ethical conduct. I think you guys will very aware of that maybe Bhopal incident. So I will not go into that. So it is a catastrophic incident in India, but you can always watch the movie. Okay, so I think that movie like Bhopal, A Prayer for Rain or something in 2013. So there'll be a very good interesting way to learn about engineering ethics as well. So sometimes you may be afraid to voice out, but just remember, when you are employed as an engineer, and hence you use your expertise to give advice with factual data to support your actions and recommendations. When data is presented to you, calculate, verify what you have so that you're confident with the judgment and make correct advice. as an engineer, there are many projects where you can have a say and people will seek your advice. Take this opportunity and do the right thing. Thank you, Dr. Zaki.
Thank you very much. Wow, that's very interesting. You showed some example about Bhopal. Maybe the students are not really aware about Bhopal incident in India yet at the moment because they are just entered university life. But I certainly have watched the movie Bhopal, A Cry for Rain, if not mistaken, right? Bhopal,
Okay.
A
I
Cry
wasn't
for
sure
Rain.
the title, but it was in 2013 or something, yeah.
Yeah, the sound is something like that. Bhopal, A Cry for Rain, or a Prayer for Rain, or something like that. But it's a very interesting movie because it shows the process on how the accidents in Bhopal takes place. And also, if
Yeah.
we also get the Hollywood treatment of Deepwater Horizon.
Oh, yeah.
Deepwater Horizon is another Hollywood treatment in terms of safety that the engineers from that company, some company, okay, actually did not actually was focusing more on time and profit and so on. So it
Okay, yeah.
happens, yeah, disaster happens. And then just now you shared some illustration about the tester, the analysis using a chemical that is not actually being used or the sampling being used. So that is very bad. I was previously an engineer and I have indulged in many cases like this, and it's very sad to see. Sometimes I see that there are situations where sampling need to be taken for, let's say, for wastewater treatment, and then they didn't even take the sample, but they just put, I mean, the operator and then maybe the
Yeah.
engineer knows about it, they just put numbers there. So that is very wrong. That's one thing. And then a second thing, they know that the quality is not achieving standard A or standard B, but they release the water to the monsoon drain. So this is another
Yes.
unethical situation. So this is
Yeah.
what I observe happening in Pasir Gudang area because I worked there that time. All
I
right.
won't quote any company.
Yeah, I just mentioned the industrial area. I'm not quoting
It
any
can
company.
happen, yeah.
Yeah, but I
Yeah, it
believe
can
in
happen, yeah.
other industrial area parts, things like this happen. All right, so thank you very much, Haja Mahani, for the explanation. So thank you. I am going to ask my next issue to Dr. Fuad. Okay, Dr. Fuad, welcome back. Just now you mentioned with the data information from BM. So it's very interesting because the students are now in the stage where they need to capture all the codes of ethics and then try to relate and map them to certain situation. Um, Nevertheless, we are wondering, maybe the students are also wondering how and what are the roles of BEM, Board of Engineers Malaysia, and also Institution of Engineers Malaysia, IEM, in ensuring the adherence to engineering ethics. How they can ensure that these young engineers can later adhere to the engineering ethics. Okay, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Zaki. Can I have my slide? This is an important piece of information for students. I have to apologize for your international students because this is very Malaysian, but I'm sure in the countries, in the home countries of your overseas students, they would also have similar arrangement in terms of the regulator and also the engineering society or the learned society. We have to differentiate, and this is something that even lecturers are not can confuse about the role of BEM, the Board of Engineers Malaysia, and also IEM, the Institution of Engineers Malaysia. The Board of Engineers Malaysia is a statutory body formed by an Act of Parliament called Act 1967, Act 1967, not 1967. It's an Act 1967. is a Registration of Engineers Act that was formed in 1967, enacted in 1967, and then it became the law that governed engineering practices and registration of engineers and how engineers should practice. The conduct of engineers, of course, under conduct there will be ethics. Ethics is more general. Conduct is very specific. Ethics is about moral values, right and wrong. But conduct is a specific rules, specific action that the engineers or registered persons have to do. So we call registered persons under the BEM, the engineers, the technologists, and also the inspectors of works. They are all called registered persons because they are registered with the Board of Engineers. Their name will be in the register, in the various registers of the Board of Engineers. So the law is under the Board of Engineers. If you don't register with the Board of Engineers, you cannot practice as an engineer. You cannot practice as a technologist and so on. But IEM, the Institution of Engineers, is a learned society. It is an engineering society for engineers, technologists, and also for technicians, where they have members. It's a society, so they have members. So it's always, the confusion is always, many people, they say they are members of Board of Engineers. They cannot be members of Board of Engineers because Board of Engineers have only got 17 members, which are the members of the board. So the rest, they are called registered person or registered engineer with the Board of Engineers. With the IEM, they will be called members of IEM, whether they are corporate members, student members, incorporated members, and associate members, and so on. So they are all called members of the system. Both IEM and BEM, they have rules. They have rules. They have code of ethics, or they have code of professional conduct that will make sure that the members for IEM and the registered person for the Board of Engineers ensure that they actually follow a certain conduct or follow certain ethical practice. Okay, I will roughly. I mean, they have both Board of Engineers and the institution engineers have their own regulation, which is not far from each other. I have touched on this regulation of engineers just now. There's a 10 section or 11 section. I specifically highlighted section 24, which is very pertinent. You can see that they are the general thing about public health and safety and due diligence in the work, and also looking after the environment. This is under regulation of engineers, and under this section 23 to 33, these are roughly the requirement of this section under the regulation of engineers. This talk about discharge with complete fidelity, complete integrity, no malicious or injury to professional reputation or business of another registered person. You cannot condemn the other engineers or other registered person. No soliciting, no paying of fees, no advertising for professional employment. You cannot advertise yourself. No services except with agreement. You must have agreement for any services done, and then no offer of favors for award of contract. So you cannot go and buy a contract or make something corrupt, do corrupt acts to get a contract. No supplants of another registered engineer. You cannot supplant means you cannot act maliciously as well, or try to disadvantage, cause disadvantage action cause a disadvantage to another engineer. That is called supplanting or making something that will take the job or the project from the other engineer, or take over job without consent. When you want to take over a job or project, you must have the consent of another engineer if that engineer has started work on that project. So you cannot be a director of a contracting or manufacturing company if you are also doing engineering consultancy services, and also except in the design and build situation. So these are the rules under the regulation of engineers. But the other document is a Circular 001, which is the Code of Conduct of Registered Person. Under this Code Circular 001, for registered PEPC, which is professional engineers with practicing certificate, these are the categories of registered person. The PEPC, professional engineers with practicing certificate, they are the same. All of them, the other one is a registered professional engineer and registered graduate engineer, registered engineering technologists, and registered inspectors of work. All of them have the same code of conduct. That means, first, they must not falsify their qualification and other documents. So that is the first part. Second part, they must not certify work unless they actually do the supervision. If they don't supervise the job, they cannot certify the job. They also cannot accept benefit from more than one party, meaning for doing the same job, you cannot get payment from two parties. What it means is that for doing the same job, if you receive two different payment from different parties, then that is actually a corruption. Okay? Meaning, example, if you are an engineer, you are a chemical engineer, you go and do inspection like Puan Haja Normani, you are paid by Haja Normani's company to go and do some inspection. So you be paid, your salary be paid by Haja Normani. But if you receive another payment for the same inspection, then the other payment will be open to question. That is corruption. You receive another payment, that means it will show dishonesty and corrupt practice. Okay? Never receive two payment for the same job from two different parties. As far as for Engineers IEM is concerned, the Institution of Engineers Malaysia, they have what they call Regulation of Professional Conduct. Okay? And this Code of Professional Conduct, under the regulation, they have this Code of Professional Conduct. Is designed to cover all these ethical principle based on broad ethical principle. And most of, according to IEM, most of the ethical problem is caused or are caused by conflict of interest between a member's personal interest and fair and honest dealing with other members of the community or his duty. I mean, what he's supposed to do, and so it is more conflict of interest situation. This is according to IEM. IEM regulation B1 to B15. They have this regulation under the regulation on the professional conduct. These are roughly all the thing that they say. Okay, it's also about injury and ill health to any person, to avoid waste of natural resources to environment. This is also about sustainability. They talk about CPD, continuing professional development. You have to continuously upgrade your knowledge or maintain your knowledge for you to work as an engineer, to continue to work as an engineer. Does work in the competence area. This is, I think, Puan Mahani actually said just now. You cannot accept a job unless you are competent in that job. If you are not competent, you shouldn't accept it. Even though you are also a chemical engineer, but in that area of work you have not done before, you have no experience, so you cannot actually take that job. Okay, accept personal responsibility for all work done. Make no public statement unless you are qualified. Qualified here means it's not about your degree, but qualified means you are the right people or right person to make that public statement. Whether right means approved by your company or approved by your department or approved by your head or your manager. No maliciously injury to professional reputation and business. This is the same as in the code of conduct of the BEM as well. No malicious injury to another engineer. Inform employer in writing if there is a conflict of interest situation. No remuneration for professional services rendered except from employer. This is the same thing that's under the BEM code of conduct as well. No remuneration, no payment, no taking of payment for professional services for something that you do, for the job that you do, except from your employer. If you accept from another person, then there is corruption. Not to be medium of payment for your employer, that is also under regulation. Okay, so I will stop here. This is how the Board of Engineers and also the engineering, the institution of engineers in Malaysia, through their regulation and also to their code of professional conduct, they will regulate from this document. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fuad. That's quite lengthy, and also I think you also covered what is code of ethics. So I originally wanted to ask you that, but since you already covered that, so that's good. So pretty much that's been covered. Fine.
Good.
So now I think we have ended the first part of our session because it's nearly 3 o'clock. So we'll take some questions from the audiences. Okay, there's a question from Yin Lee Boon. Is conduct of conducts kept up to date regularly? Maybe Dr. Fuad, you can answer this. Briefly, okay, briefly. Do not answer very long.
The code of conduct is, if you see, for both the boards, BEM also IEM, they do revise the code of conduct, but it's not the yearly revision. It may revise, if there is a need, like industry change, the work, how people work change. There is a need. There is a new area that the engineers are involved. Something. Then there is a review and the code of conduct will be updated, but it doesn't get updated every year, so don't worry. But the content is more or less the same. You can see that it talks about public health and safety. It talks about your competence. You must have due diligence. You must do your work diligently, not to be careless. Those are the general code of conduct in almost all the organization.
Okay. Thank you very much. I hope the one who asked Yin Lee Boon, okay, understand this, okay, and also the other students. All right, next question, please. There's a question from Anderson Koe Ying Chong. Sorry if I pronounce it wrongly. What is the difference between registered engineers and professional engineers? You want to answer this, Dr. Fuad, or maybe we can bring along Haja Mahani as well, in case you also want to try to answer. I also can answer this, but I want. Okay, let's let Haja Mahani. Do you want to pass the?
Let's hear Dr. Fuad.
All right. Okay, from Dr. Fuad. Okay.
Yeah.
See, the board has termed people who registered with the board as registered persons. So registered persons have 3 or 4 categories. One is registered engineers, and under registered engineers, there are 3 categories. Okay, there are 3 categories of registered engineers. You are either registered engineers with registered professional engineers with practicing certificate. You are second category is registered professional engineer. Third category, registered graduate engineer. So you have three categories of registered engineers. Okay. Then after that, a registered person also be registered engineering technologies and registered IOW inspector of work. So registered engineers have got three category: registered graduate engineer, registered professional engineer, and registered professional engineer with practicing certificate. That is the new category.
Okay, so in simple terms, I can try to elaborate, not to elaborate, to explain again, to stress to the student. So you just need to know, once you graduate, okay, once you complete your chemical engineering degree, you need to register with BEM, Board of Engineers Malaysia, and you are actually a registered engineer. So if you want to pursue and be professional, you can be a registered professional engineer. So like IR Dr. Fuad, you can also be like me, IR Dr. Zaki. Okay. So that will require you at least 3 years for you to undergo practical training and then be evaluated, be interviewed, and so on. So then you can be a professional engineer, registered professional engineer. And then there's another.
I believe that the Hajar Nur Mahani can be registered as a professional engineer if she wants to.
Yes, correct. Yes. Okay, maybe we take another question. Last question for this first half. Okay, there's a question from Bara Muhammad Hamdi Al Abdel Bari. Okay. Why do some people do unethical actions even though they know from their inside that this is incorrect and may cause disaster? Okay, I want to ask this. I want to direct this to Hajar Mahani. Let's bring Hajar Mahani to the screen, please.
Okay, thank you Dr. Zaki. Ingatkan tak kena cakap. Alright, thank you Bara Muhammad for the question. Yes, this is a very practical question actually. Why do people do it when you know that it's wrong? So it is many influences, many unethical. So it's really difficult to, if you work, you really need for your life, you have to seek. You're supposed to do something, of course, but your boss is actually asking you to do it and threatening you to do it, threatening you to do it. So you are caught in between. You just do not know what needs to be done. And if you are not ethical, you will then do whatever the boss asks you to do, falsifying information. So you are caught in that situation. So this is what we are trying to say. Whatever situations you are, even though it's difficult for you, you must always exercise the correct ethical values, correct moral values in making decisions to what you do. So I think subsequent, we have another hour. We'll be talking more about this in our sessions.
Yeah, sure. So thank you very much, Hajar Mahani, for the explanation. I think your line is a little bit not okay.
I'm sorry.
But it's okay. No, I think because the following, after this, I'll be asking something that is related very much to what Bara is going to has just asked. So okay, so this is how the situation is. Okay. Okay, let's assume a situation, a scenario. An engineer is asked to do something that is not right by his manager, who prioritizes profit rather than safety. This happened a lot of time. I can see it myself when I was working. I can see it myself in other industries as well. Can you comment on that? So this is almost the same like Bara's question, but In case just now the internet line has been interrupted, you can further elaborate some more on this. And maybe I can combine this question with another one. How do you reckon a situation where an engineer acknowledge a falsified invoice? I hope that's okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yes. Okay. Two questions. Let's go to the first one, which is you're an engineer and you're being asked to do something that's not right by your manager, and your manager is looking at profits more than safety. Okay. Now, well, as an engineer, when you are asked to do something, you must already raise the issues. You will need to stress on the concerns. Okay, so you are in charge of a project. You know there's something wrong in there. Your boss is saying, conceal it. Don't tell anyone. But you, as a person, you need to stress on the concerns. Document your concerns. Okay, and escalate the issues to higher management. Okay, you must find this opportunity, and you need to do the right thing and step back and think of the consequences. What would it be if you agree to do something that is not right? Okay, when disaster happens, you can definitely forget about your engineering career or any other career that you may want to have, because your integrity has been compromised. So really, it is just not worth it to do something unethical in the line of duty as an engineer. So protect yourself, your team, and people who's working with you via good documentation and factual data. You need to be professional and exercise your ethical conduct at all times. Okay, you may be oppressed for not following the manager's comments. The manager might not like you, but don't take risks on the career. Okay, if you need to leave the job, then get another one. Sometimes you can't do much, but bottom line, if you're stuck in there and you don't want to do what is being asked for you to do, maybe that's the best choice for you. Okay. Well, we hope you don't have to go to that situation ever in your engineering career. Now, you must always remember, as what Dr. Fuad also mentioned earlier, if you do not supervise the work, then you shouldn't endorse the work. Okay, and you can relate this to many instances like permit to work system at the workplace also. So basically, you need to go back to the guiding principles for professional ethical behavior. There are actually 6 code of conducts that I follow, basically based on the American Board of Industrial Hygienists that was mentioning earlier. The first, you must always maintain high standards of integrity and professional conduct. Refrain from public behavior that is clearly in violation of profession, ethical, and legal standards. Okay. Now, second one is to follow recognized sound scientific principles. Okay, use validated methods and guidelines that is available, that is being published. Follow those guidelines, follow those validated method, and you will not go wrong. Now, accept responsibilities for your own actions. That's the third one. When you have done all your evaluations, make the decision based on the factual data. Then be responsible for the action. I can give you an example, like earlier Dr. Zaki was mentioning that I was doing auditing. You know, when you do auditing, sometimes you find non-conformances. You there are findings in your auditing work. So you need to raise those findings. Don't dismiss them until you see what is the magnitude of the problem there. Okay, then when you raise the issues, make sure it is always backed by factual data. All of you here would be at one point in an engineering career will be doing auditing, inspection work. Okay, so when you see something, you need to address them, and make sure when you address things, it's always backed on the data that you have, evidence. Okay, now, and then make sure you document them. So the next is to continually seek to enhance your professional capabilities. I think earlier Dr. Fuad actually mentioned that you need to always attend courses for continual education. Okay, you only provide services for the things that you're qualified in. Okay, for me, for example, I'm a chemical engineer, obviously, but I don't do design, so I cannot embark on such services. Now, accurate and truthful representation on your competency certification and recertification is very important. You must make sure your certification, if you have any license that you hold, these are always valid at the time when you do the work. Okay, you shouldn't have any lapses when you have competency certificates that you need to hold. Now, practice with fairness and honesty. Each time you provide your services either internally or with the clients, and very important also to encourage other people to act in a professional manner. Okay, don't get involved with unethical manner. Don't just follow the flow. So these are actually in line with the Board of Engineers requirements and also IEM regulations that Dr. Fuad was explaining later. Sorry, I was explaining earlier. Yeah, if you follow these, you will not go wrong. Now, Dr. Zaki also mentioned about the situation where the engineer acknowledges a falsified invoice. Okay, my first reaction to this is that this is a no-no. Okay, not in any time, not in any circumstances, you should be doing that. It is something that you should not embark on or even start. Okay, don't try doing it. Okay, because once you start doing it, you will continue doing it, and it becomes your habit, and then you will then justify your misconduct as ethical, and this is really bad. Okay, so say you do it for personal gain, getting your share, or just siphoning company's capital, which is obviously not yours to begin with. How long do you think it will last? Doing so will make you feel worried all the time. Worried if someone finds out. You got stressed out because of a short-term gain. So it is really not worth it. So don't. Now, besides, if you're a Muslim, okay, whatever you may gain in ways that are not barakah, then the risk will not be, the risky will not be blessed. Okay, and you use this for yourself, for your family, and think about the consequences in your quality of life using something that was not intended for you in the first place. So, as a Muslim, put your religion first and make sure that you do it in a halal way. Okay, so yeah, Dr. Zaki.
Yeah, thank you very much. Wow. Yes. We need to ensure the barakah in our rizki. Okay, what I don't know what's happening. Okay, so now it's fine. You keep full. Okay.
Yeah. Oops.
I hope it's okay now. Maybe this is because of the internet disruption. We press and then it won't go and move. Anyway, I have a situation for you. Let's say, because just now you mentioned if the boss say so and then you can move on to the next company. But let's put it this way. There's a guy named John. All right. John just worked for 3 years and he was just married like one and a half year ago, and then his wife is not working. He has a family to support, and then his wife is 8 months pregnant. And then he found something funny, fishy happening in the company. He highlighted to the boss, to the manager, and then the manager said, "Why you are saying this? You don't love your job? You think it's easy to find job nowadays? If you report this, I will fire you." Okay, what will John do? And then is the midst of economic crisis, and it's not easy to get job. Even the job that John has actually secured, it took him like 1 year to get to this job. What's your opinion? Briefly.
Okay. This would be whistleblowing.
Ah,
Okay. So I would term this as whistleblowing. Yeah. It would be a situation where a person has information concerning wrongdoing of something or someone or some situation in the workplace. Well, be prepared, engineers. You might be facing this when you become an engineer one day. Okay. Now, there are a lot of situations where this can happen, and we just hope one day it's not you who become the whistleblower, because there's a lot. It's going to be very messy. Now, let's look at the situation that Dr. Zaki presented earlier. Someone finds out something fishy at workplace, and then the boss threatens him that don't complain and whatnot. So it goes back to to my earlier situation where you may be in the position where you need to conceal information. Okay, so I always say do the right thing. Okay, do the right thing. If you need to escalate the information to someone else, report to higher management, do so. But really, in a whistleblowing, if if you become a whistleblower and you need to report the professional conduct to board of engineers, then this could be done because there are methods of doing it. I'm not so sure how it is. Perhaps Arifo I can actually mention, can elaborate. But yes, board of engineers Malaysia would set up committees, for example, I guess, and it will do investigations. I know as an industrial hygienist, if you do not follow the code of conduct, you can be also reported. Okay, and in the industrial hygienist society, we will set up teams. We will set up investigation committee to investigate the matter, and we keep all the information of the whistleblower confidential so that it is anonymous. Okay, so that's what I can share.
Yeah, so this is a very interesting situation, unique situation, because sometimes the staff, the engineer, is in dilemma, right? So he or she is pushed aside to a very difficult situation. If he complain, he or she will be terminated from his service. So that's why whistleblowing is important. So guys, students, whistleblowing is a very important term, and hopefully you try to understand this. So if you have no choice, you need to be a whistleblower. All right. So
Yes,
thank
yes.
you, Haja Mahani. I will direct the next question to our beloved Dr. Fuad. We are going to move on a little bit to the future, and because the world is moving very fast pace, and we need to see how can engineering ethics adapt with the future. So with the digitalization and circular economy gaining importance going forward, how would engineering ethics be effective and relevant? We hope to listen to your insight, Dr. Fuad.
Thank you, Dr. Zaki again. Can I would like to just show my my slide if it can be just shown. Yeah, okay. We see going forward, we are we are we are we are being faced now. I mean the world is being faced with all these things. This is the Volkswagen case, which happened in December 2015, which is about 6 years ago. Volkswagen, is a very well-known brand. For years they have been there, but they were involved in this scandal. Which what happened was, what is the Volkswagen accused of? They were accused of what they call this is a defeat device. You see, they fit into their cars. They call this defeat device is a software in their diesel car or diesel engine that could detect when they were being tested, changing the performance according to to improve, changing the performance of the engine to improve result. So the German car has seen admitted cheating emissions tests in the US. What happened was, you see, every country, US in this case, has got their regulation for the import of cars, or for the requirement of the cars, and there is certain emission requirement, the carbon emission requirement, and Volkswagen was smart in an unethical way to install.
Oh, maybe there's some interruption again with the line. We are losing Dr. Fuad. Anyway, I hope he will be back soon with the Volkswagen story, which will actually show the example of a situation where engineering ethics is being jeopardized. Anyway, while waiting for that, I think Hajah Mahani is here, right? So I will ask the next issue to Hajah Mahani instead. I think this is going to be your last one.
Oh, okay.
But then after that, we can take some questions from the audiences, from the students.
Yes.
Very simple. Last time when I was an engineer, I was offered many. There were many situations where I was kind of offered many gifts. Is it
Wow.
actually ethical to receive gift? Can an engineer receive gifts from contractors, from suppliers? What's your comment? I hope you can answer this.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Fuad. This is real, yeah, and it can happen to anyone, not only engineers. Yeah. Engineer receiving gifts from contractors, suppliers. Uh,
We are losing you, Hajah Mani. Can you hear us?
If zero is quite clear, you cannot accept any gifts from your contractors or suppliers. But some companies have this restricted gift policy, and they have guidelines on what sort of restricted gifts that you can accept from the contractors or suppliers. For example, maybe the suppliers can go to your canteen or to your cafe in the company and buy meals for you. That's acceptable. Or buy Starbucks for you. That's acceptable. Some companies have this kind of guidance. But the tricky part is that you don't have any guidance. Your company do not have any policy on gifts. So what do? You don't have any guidance because it's not stipulated anywhere in your company policy. Now, let's say that that you are not from sorry. Let's say you're in a position where someone gives something for you. Really, you should kindly reject, because when you do so, people will respect you more. Your say will be stronger. People will actually listen to you more than thinking that they might be able to, sort of buy you in a way. Okay, so it is better to just reject, or in some cases you can declare the gift that you receive. Okay, so somebody gives you a tall huge hamper, for example, and then send it to you. You can just declare that it's given by someone, and then probably the HR or someone in a company can decide what needs to be done. Okay. Now, there are certain things, for example, this happens almost every year when people start giving kurma or mandarins, kurma during Hari Raya, mandarins during Chinese New Year. And, and companies usually accept this because it's not for personal for someone. It is for the entire, whoever that is in the company itself. So generally, people accept this. But for companies that doesn't accept gifts, that is a no-no. Okay, it really depends on your company's policy, yeah. But really, the temptation of getting some gifts from the supplier can be very high, but you should avoid it. Okay, the important thing is that don't accept, and also remember, don't give. Okay, so if there's no one giving things to you, then nobody will be accepting it. Okay, don't make it as a habit to engage in such conduct. It is wrong when the gift can influence your decision, especially in the project or the job that you're responsible for. Okay, you are supposed to make decisions for certain things, and then it is sort of fueled by the gift that is given to you, and you skew your decision towards a certain contractor. So this is not ethical. Now, if you have gifts coming from your supplier or contractors, you should really report it to your supplier, to your superiors, yeah, to your managers or your supervisors. Avoid situations that can cause conflict of interest in the form of gifts. This can be hampers, can be sometimes they give you personal watches, sponsor you trips, golfing, membership cards. These are all gifts. Or even conduct. For example, sharing intellectual information from other companies that you consulted, or recommending additional services that is not needed for monetary gains. So for recommending services, for example, if you're a consultant, you provide services to the other company. Of course, people listen to what you have to say, but you then start abusing this opportunity by asking them to do certain things that they don't have to do. Okay, so this is also considered as ethical. Yeah. Now, going back to the question, can engineer receive gifts from contractors and suppliers? I actually would like to tweak the question a little bit. Can engineers ask for gifts from contractors or suppliers? What do you think? Okay, there are situations where we always think that as engineer people give things to us, but in the real life there are also situations when you're an engineer, you ask for gifts from contractors and suppliers. Okay, so asking can be in many forms. So this is clearly unethical. Okay, now as an engineer you need to operationalize the values that you have. There are 5 ethical values that you will commonly encounter in work life. I've sort of summarized this. Now, the first is always follow recognized scientific principles. Stick to the facts. Okay, I keep on stressing this. When you want to make decision, your decision should be backed by evidence. It should back by factual data. And use recognized methods. Use recognized accredited labs. Or equipment that is calibrated correctly before you embark on a certain job. Make sure this is being used. And then counsel parties factually. Use reliable sources, reliable data, reliable information, reliable people, and communicate findings to all affected parties. Anticipate what kind of problems that might happen if people are not informed on a certain information. So you need to inform the information, document them, and so that people then know how to make a decision based on what you have found as an engineer. Now, always avoid conflict of interest and don't accept gifts to influence outcome. And you only take as much as you can complete. Okay, so Dr. Fuad also mentioned earlier, you take up a job, a company pays you, and then at the same job another company pays you additional remuneration that you get. So this is not ethical, so you shouldn't be embarking on such projects. Now, practice only in areas of competence. Okay, I've stressed this more today about competency. Okay, you are engineer. When you work, you might be getting professional competencies in providing services for the company. You only work in the areas that you are qualified. Don't give advice over something that you are not a subject matter expert. Okay, seek training, certification, and registration in these areas if you want to know more. Okay, basically, if you're interested in a certain competency, go and learn the competency, go attend courses, and get yourself qualified. Okay, so then you can then practice in that area of competency. Now, always act with integrity. So behave in a manner that reflects well your profession. You will reflect who you are as well. Okay, and don't misrepresent yourself. Okay, when you receive gifts, people have a certain connotation on you. Okay, so you don't engage on those fraudulent activities. As a consultant, there would be cases where these things happen. So we are from the other end when people in the company, engineers in the company, asks for something from you. Okay, so yes, sometimes you may lose a certain job because you don't want to get involved in such behavior. So for me personally, I'm blessed enough to avoid those kind of situations. So whenever I go in and to a certain project for discussion, and then when someone in the company is starting to indicate things like this, I'll just back off. Okay, to me, rezeki is anywhere. Okay, you can get your rezeki from many other sources. So you just pray to God that God will give you the rezeki that is yours. Okay, so maybe that project you see is a good 6-figure project or 7-figure project. It's not yours. Okay, so go and find some other places, and that rezeki will be more barakah for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the explanation. I have a situation. Let's say again, because I've been an engineer for 6 years, so I, I experienced quite something, many things. What if there's a situation where an engineer named Ali, for example, Ali. Okay, Ali
I was thinking
went.
of the name too.
Okay, 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 good mindset. Okay, Ali, Ali went for lunch. He went to a lunch to a very popular restaurant in Pasir Gudang area. He had the lunch with somebody, with his let's say for with his wife, and then suddenly a supplier that he knows also entered the restaurant with the intention of also having lunch, but at a different table. And then when Ali want to leave the restaurant, he found out that he don't have to pay because the contractor or the supplier has already paid for him. And then the supplier and or slash contractor has already left because maybe they eat very fast. How to do that? What is that? What's the situation? Maybe you can answer briefly, please.
You caught me there. Okay. All right.
This is real situation.
Yeah. I understand.
Hmm.
Ethically, it's not right lah. Okay. If you ask me what I would do, okay. Now, first that contractor, you know that contractor. Okay, so you can always go back to the contractor and say, wait, I'm going to pay back whatever you pay me because I don't want you to, I don't want to have any conflict of interest over the job that you're doing here. Okay, or I could just call him and warn him, don't ever do that. Okay, so
Okay.
because I don't accept such thing. Okay, I don't
Okay.
want you to be paying me for my food. It is, you put me in a very difficult situation, and my wife is there. I don't want to gaddle with you. I don't want to have any any argument or anything like that. So please help me to not put myself in a difficult situation. So I think the second option would be something that I would do. I would tell them, and really, it shouldn't affect your judgment over whatever contract that this person have. If you evaluate this contract, it is not good, then be it's not good. Don't choose them. If it's good, then say it's good. Doesn't matter who they are. Okay, so you need to need to have really your factual data in making that kind of decision. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I believe Dr. Fuad is already back online. So maybe can we have Dr. Fuad again back here? We need Dr. Fuad to, I don't know what happened. Maybe something happened. Maybe you were exited from the system.
My browser wanted to shut down.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. Maybe we can continue back to the question just now. Do you know where you should continue?
I will just briefly actually talk about the digital
Yes.
economy and and also circular economy. About, of course, this has got to do with sustainability, with climate change and so on. I bring out this example of Volkswagen, if it can be shown again on the screen. Volkswagen was involved in this so-called scandal. It is called a diesel emission scandal back in 2015. They produced cars which was not in compliance with the emission requirement of the American Environmental Protection Agency. Can the slide be shown? Yes, thank you. So what happened was the Volkswagen was discovered by the Environmental Protection Agency of the America or United States, where their cars sold in America had a device called defeat device. This defeat device is actually a software installed in the diesel engine of the car that could detect when they were being tested. When a test is going to be done on the engine, this software will detect that test is going to be done on it, and it will change the performance of the engine accordingly to improve the result. That means to show that it complies with the emission requirement of the United States. So this German car giant has since admitted cheating emission tests in the US, and this involved 482,000 cars in the US, and Volkswagen also admitted that about 11 million cars worldwide, including 8 million in Europe, are fitted with the so-called defeat device. This is the digital technology. They can actually make their car, when the testing is done, the car perform better in terms of emission. The second, this digital world, is actually involve artificial intelligence. The ethical issues of artificial intelligence are still very strongly, very hotly discussed. Tech giants such as Alphabet, Amazon, Facebook, IBM, and Microsoft, as well as individuals such as Stephen Hawking and Elon Musk, believe that now is the right time to talk about the nearly boundless landscape of artificial intelligence. In many ways, this is just as much a new frontier for ethics and risk management as it is for emerging technology. So, which issues and conversations keep AI experts up at night? So, there are 9 issues. 9 ethical issues in artificial intelligence, which they have not found the solution yet. One is employment. Will more people be unemployed? Inequality. Will it cause inequality in terms of nations, in terms of countries? Will it threaten humanity? Will artificial intelligence actually be a threat to humanity? People are no more because they always depend on the robot and the machine. Will that cause artificial stupidity? Will the robot be racist? Can it create robots which are racist? Security, will it be a threat to security of the country, of the jurisdiction of the company? Will the robot become evil? Evil genius? Will it cause singularity? What it means is that here singularity is the robot or the artificial intelligence become more intelligent than human being, that you can't defeat them. And then will robots have rights just like human rights? So these are very pertinent issues that is being discussed in the digital world. The requirement for this development to be treated ethically is very real. So if engineers are going to be involved in all these things, in developing artificial intelligence equipment and manufacturing equipment, system, process, and so on, need to be talking about ethical issues, what is right and what is wrong for the future of humanity. I will stop there, I think. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This question. The question is very relevant to what we are facing nowadays and what we will be facing again in future. Dr. Fuad, I'm going to ask you one final question for this round. So I believe I'm going to combine the question because time is not really on our side. And then due to several disruption here and there. So, but Alhamdulillah, still we still have wonderful sessions for discussion. Okay. Just now you explained about the digitalization and also the circular economy and so on, which is very related to what we are facing and going to face afterwards. But what I want to ask you now is something to do with engineering ethics involvement, to compare engineering ethics 20 years ago and what will be the engineering ethics 20 years in future. So looking at engineering ethics in the past 20 years and imagining engineering ethics 20 years on from now, what would be the likely challenge? So the challenge must be there because 20 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, there's still challenge, and then maybe there will be a new advanced futuristic challenge. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Zaki. You are talking about a 40-year range from 20 years in the past and 20 years in the future. I would like to show this a few of my slides again. This is a 4-decade food fraud. Is a compliance fraud. What happens in this fraud is actually in Malaysia. It's not far. Halal meat fraud in Malaysia has spanned 40 years. For more than 40 years, a syndicate of bribed governments and custom officials and slaughterhouses did lucrative business by smuggling fake halal meat into Malaysia. The meat originated in unapproved slaughterhouses in several countries that produce not halal certified and low-grade meat from a variety of animals, and they get imported into Malaysia. This is 40 years of. The other thing is chemical engineers will be involved in all these things again. One is the United Nations. This is a program under called. Two companies called Impossible Foods and Beyond Meat are joint winners of the Champions of the Earth Award in the Science and Innovation category. I don't know which year this was, but these two companies, what they have done is, according to a research or study conducted by the University of Michigan, a quarter-pound Beyond Burger, this is the person who produced this, is actually a vegetable burger, requires 99% less water, 93% less land, and generates 90% fewer greenhouse gas emission, using 46% less energy to produce than actually a beef burger. So this is how much it will save the world and also will mitigate climate change. The other person, this is a founder called Brown, Ethan Brown, founder of Beyond Meat. The other person, using animals for food makes up vast majority of the land footprint of humanity. All the buildings, roads, and paved surfaces in the world occupy less than 1% of Earth's surface, while more than 45% of land surface is actually used in by the livestock for grazing and for growing feed crops for livestock. There's so much land surface being used. So it's actually, for the livestock, is actually a big problem. So this guy, his name is Dr. Patrick Brown, founder of the Impossible Foods. That is the other winner of that award. He actually is a doctor and a professor of Stanford University in 2009. And also, I would like to show here, but our use of animals as food production technology has brought us to the verge of catastrophe. The destructive impact of animal agriculture and environment far exceeds that of any other technology on Earth, according to these founders, these two persons. The greenhouse gas footprint of animal agriculture rivals that of every car, truck, bus, ship, airplane, and rocket ship combined, they say. So this is about, there's no pathway to achieve Paris climate objective, which is, I think, 2019 or something like that, without a massive decrease in the scale of animal agriculture, they added. Roughly 80% of agricultural land is used to make livestock feed or for grazing? Is there a better way to produce protein? So this is actually when we talk about sustainability, talk about environment, we have never been told that the animal agriculture actually cause more greenhouse gas or more carbon footprint than all the cars, trucks, bus, ship, airplane, and rocket being combined together. Everything combined together, they are much less than the greenhouse or the climate change effect caused by animal agriculture. This is not something that we hear. This is from Time magazine, Time online. It talk about 2015 Paris climate. It say it takes a look. This 100 scientists from 52 countries talking about UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. It takes a look at how land use practices have impacted the planet and finds that deforestation, agriculture, and other humanities threaten the world's ability to limit the global temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Okay, that's what they wanted, or all the countries wanted to achieve. But there are plenty of obstacles to adopting the report's suggestion around food. But there is hope. When people think about solving climate change and what governments can do, they have to think about agriculture. This is the fact. Food security will be increasingly affected by future climate change through yield decline. So the countries that are likely to be most severely impacted by climate change are often low-income places, the so-called third world country, that have not been the leading contributors to global warming. So all the third world countries, so-called undeveloped countries or poor countries, they are not responsible for the global warming, but they are the one that will suffer. So will a chemical engineer being involved in the process, food process, and also all the other processes, be able to hold up their ethical engineering ethics in their practice in future when all these issues that are not obvious to us have been not published and made known to the public. So this is our ethical position as engineers, as people who be involved in the industry when coming to all these sustainability issues, and also about fraud and so on. So engineers, you have a role to play in future. I will also say that will 20 years ago and 20 years to come be different? To me, as human being, because this ethics has got to do with human being, the human behavior, but human nature has not changed. Human nature has not changed. It's only maybe technology, equipment, lifestyle, consumerism. These have changed, but in terms of human nature, we have not changed. If you look at the 10 Commandments, whether it is a Protestant one or the Catholic one, is about human being. It's about how. If you look at the 10 Commandments of the Catholic Church, you see, number one, I am the Lord your God. You shall not have strange gods before me. I will read the Protestant one, I think easier. You shall have no other God than me. You shall not make me unto you any graven images. That means we shouldn't have any other gods. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. You shall remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Honor your mother and father. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. you shall not bear false witness, you shall not covet anything that belongs to your neighbor. Okay, all these things are code of ethics, yeah, for human being. This 1948 Nuremberg Code is the first ethical code to establish the basic standard for when human beings may be enrolled in scientific studies. This was done because of the Nazi case, when doctors involving in using human beings for tests, they were actually charged for many offenses, and the code came out to guide research involving human being. But if you look at the Islamic rule of war as a code of ethics, it is very interesting that all these things try to guide human being. One is, do not kill any child, any women, or any elder or sick person. This is from Sunnah Abu Dawud. Do not practice treachery or mutilation. Do not uproot or burn palms or cut down trees, fruit trees, and so on. So all this become a code for human being when they go to war. Okay, what about the last sermon of the Prophet ﷺ? Is it a code of conduct? All people, regard this life and property and every Muslim a sacred trust. It is a trust given to us. Return the goods entrusted to you to the rightful owners. Hurt no one, so that no one may hurt you. Allah has forbidden you to take usury. Therefore, all interest obligations shall henceforth be waived. Beware of Satan for the safety of your religion. All people, this is important here. The one that I highlight in red. All people, it is true that you have certain rights with regard to your women, your wife, but they also have rights over you. Remember that you have taken them as your wives only under Allah's trust and with His permission. If they abide by your right, then to them belongs their right to be fed and clothed in kindness. Do treat your women, your wives, well, and be kind to them, for they are your partners and committed helpers. And it is your right that they do not make friends with anyone of whom you do not approve, or as well as neighbor to be unjust. O people, listen in earnest, worship Allah, and say your 5 daily prayers, fast during Ramadan, and give your wealth in zakat and perform hajj. Is this the code of conduct for human being that we need for all the time, whether it's 20 years ago, 40 years ago, 20 years to come, 40 years to come? The technology may change, our means of living may change, but human nature is the same. Human nature is the same and needs this sort of guidance. All the prophets and the messenger in the revealed religions, they were sent to the people who forget what good they were supposed to do, and then messengers were sent to them to bring them back to the truth. So truth and falsehood will be ever the two conflicting parties in the life of human being in this world, whether in the past or in the future. This is also important. The one I highlight in red, all mankind is from Adam and Eve. An Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab, nor a non-Arab has any superiority over an Arab. Also, a white has no superiority over a black, nor a black has any superiority over a white, except by piety and good action. Good action, ethical. Learn that every Muslim is a brother to every Muslim, and that Muslim constitute one brotherhood. This is for Muslim, of course. This is a sermon of the Prophet. And the other one, so this is important about human being, equality and human rights. Okay, I think that is important for me to highlight the two things about be good to your wives, to the women, and also equality or equity among human beings, irrespective of their race, their color, or even their religion. But ethics is about khuluq. When, then, now, and future. What is khuluq? This is the khuluq is character, or khuluq is a singular of akhlaq. Akhlaq is plural. So this is character. Is the inward cause, while the action is outward consequence. A good character, so khuluq, akhlaq is internal, the action is outside. A good character hence begets good action, whereas bad character yields bad action. This is by Ibn Miskaweh, and also by Al-Farabi. Therefore, it is because of character that man is either praised or blamed. It is because of character that he is either happy or in misery. Consequently, character has consistently become the object of science of ethics, character, khuluq or akhlaq. And my last two slides, humanity, human dignity or karamatul insan is actually testified by with these words in the Quran. Indeed, we have dignified the children of Adam, carried them on land and sea, granted them good and lawful provision, and privileged them far above many of other creatures. Mankind are given dignity and privilege far more than any other or many other creatures of God. And also here, the defiance of Satan, this is very important. Allah say, what prevented you from prostrating when I commanded you? Satan said, I am better than him. You created me from fire and created him from clay. This is the cause of human misery or human fighting between nation, between people, because when Allah SWT commanded the Satan to respect the dignity of Adam, Satan refused. So the refusal show that this is the wrong path. This is the wrong path, the unethical act. Because why? Because he is better. He feels that he is better. Satan feels that he is better than Adam, because Adam was created from clay and he was created from fire. This nature, human nature, will continue to be in this way, beginning from Satan. And when the two sons of Adam, Habil and Qabil, what they did, Habil, a shepherd, offer a healthy ram for his best sacrifice, and Qabil, a farmer, was not willing to give his best and offered some crops from his land. Allah SWT accepted Habil's sacrifice because Habil gave the best, very, very ethical, give the best in his sacrifice to God, but rejected Qabil because Qabil was only giving, not willing to give his best, not ethical. Qabil then killed his brother Habil out of jealousy. He had committed the first murder on earth. So this human nature, jealousy, I'm better than you, you are not better than me. This is even about racism. It started with the shaitan or Satan, the character of Satan, and this character will be, as long as human live in this world, the character will always be there, and we'll be facing ethical issue, the similar ethical issue from 20 years ago to 20 years to come, or even 40 or even 100 years to come. This is what we want. Love and humanity has no color. This is what we want. But human nature will not be able to do this unless we control ourselves. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I didn't expect you to discuss the future and past in that angle, in that perspective. So this is quite very unique way when you bring away, you bring and take the discussion, you relate to Islam and so on. So I think it's very interesting, and human is human. Human is human 100 years ago and then 100 years afterwards. So we just need to have good character, and we need just to produce good attitude and so on. So thank you very much for the input. All right, so thank you very much, Dr. Fuad and also Hajjah Mahani. We have reached the end of the question from me, but we have questions from the students. So we are going to entertain the questions from the students as much as we can. And for the first one, I'm going to direct this question to Hajjah Mahani. It's a question from Herman Matu. Doctor, what if someone said that gift is as sedekah? How we want to deal with this situation? Because in our religion, it is good for us to sedekah to others. So how we will face this? Over to you, Hajjah Mahani.
Alhamdulillah. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Zaki. Thank you, Herman Matu, for the question. Sedekah. Okay, there's two portions of the question here that you were asking. What do you do when someone gives you something and say sedekah? And then you said that sedekah is actually part of what our religion asks for. Now, really, I would go to the second one first. Yeah. So when someone says this is sedekah, there are two things that you need to find out. What is the intention of that sedekah? So the intention of the sedekah to you. Just are you a family member? Say the neighbor, that person. Are you in need because you probably have problems, or you need financial aid, like your mom and stuff like that? Or are you a friend of that person who is doing khuruj for
The line is not really okay. Oh my God.
for our sake religion on what sedekah is? Oh, is it okay? Is it up
Okay,
now?
now it's up again.
Okay, let's capitalize this. So I was saying that there are guidelines in our religion on what is sedekah, who should receive it, and more importantly, you need to understand that sedekah, the first thing for sedekah is to yourself. Okay, going back to the fact that someone asks you, give you something and say, tak apalah, sorry, this is actually sedekah for you, then you should ask, why me? What am I eligible for sedekah in the first place? I'm not poor. I'm not in need. So why would you want me to give me sedekah? So then it boils down to the first thing just now. What is the intention of the sedekah? So if you really dig in, well, I'm an auditor, I always find out why, So then you find out the reason why that person gives it to you. Okay. So of all the people in the world, why you? Okay. So if you have any relationship with that person and the person is your contractor or supplier, like we have been talking about earlier, then it is something that you should reconsider. Go back to the ethical conduct and then evaluate yourself, evaluate the situation, and reject if necessary. So yeah, that's how you do it. But really, if someone is giving you something and it's actually personal and it's work related and you are the person who make decision, you should reject it. Okay, so be a professional engineer. Okay, take that ethical values with you all the time.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope.
Can I just add on this one?
Okay.
There is actually a narration from the prophet when his companion was sent to Yaman to collect zakat, to collect zakat. So the companion went to collect zakat, and then he was given a gift by some people in Yaman. He came back to Medina to the prophet and said, okay, prophet, this is the zakat that I have collected, but this is the gift that was given to me by the people of Yemen. So I want to keep this gift. So the prophet asked him, if you were staying at home, that means you are not the zakat collector, will you be given this gift or not? So you are given this gift because of your position, because of your role as a zakat collector. But if you are just a person staying at home, would you be getting this gift or not? So actually it was not. He didn't keep the gift because it was not. So sometimes you have to know that even people can call it any name, zakat. I have a personal experience on this. When I was a partner in a consultancy firm, you see, we were waiting for some payment from a government department. Okay, you know, government department, they take long time for payment to be approved. So my partner sent 2 handphones to the person who did the recommendation and to his boss who is going to approve the recommendation for payment. He sent these 2 phones through the office of the boss. And the boss called me because he was my junior in school. If he had not been my junior, he would not call me. But he was my junior in school. He called me, your partner sent me these 2 handphones. Can you come and collect it back? Because I don't want this handphone. So I took the handphone back and I went to see my partner and I told him, why do you send these 2 handphones? It is not correct. Then he said, no. Why not? Because I just give him as a gift. It's not wrong. I ikhlas. I sincerely want to give him. I say, in this situation, it is not about nothing about ikhlas. It's very clear. The situation is clear that we are trying to, whatever it is lah, when you call it, whether you want to bribe, you want to speed up the payment, whatever lah. But it is still not ethical.
Okay. Thank you very much for the very clear example. I think we have more questions coming in, so let's have the next question. Okay, this comes from Eng Yi Ling. If we suspect someone is acting unethically, after talking to him or her, he know his fault and promise to correct his way. Do we need to report the problem to company or IEM or give him opportunity? Okay, who wants to answer this? Open to either one of you.
Perhaps Dr. Fuad can go first.
Okay.
I have a slight comment to make. Sometimes, like you see, there are like gifts and so on. There are gifts which are normal, which are uruf, or what is culturally acceptable. Like when you go to company give you sometimes diary. I mean those days lah. Now no more diary, I think now. There's company give you some pen, with the company chop or some calendar, whatever. These are what we term, what I would say, is a normal casual gift. A gift cannot be 4,000 ringgit watch. That is not a gift anymore. That is abnormal. That is not normal. That is not according to market norm. Market norm, normally companies will give all this, some pen, ball pen that doesn't function after 2 weeks, for example. These are okay.
Yeah.
But if you get a gift that is out of the norm, it's not normal to get such gift. They give you a gift of 2,000, 4,000 ringgit, or this would not be acceptable. But if it's within the norm, it is okay. That's why even the government at one time they say no gift except flowers and fruits.
Yeah.
So for under what is normally given, there's when they give you a ball pen which will get not functioning after 2 weeks, they don't expect anything from you. But if they give a gift of
Yeah.
4,000 or 5,000 ringgit for whatever, they expect something from you. So we have to read what is what. If we are obliged, never oblige and never be a slave to anybody. We are only slave to God. So don't be a slave to anybody. Once they buy you, you are his slave. So that is not a good thing. When we say unethical, back to the question of Ng Yiling, you see, when you say unethical, I would think that this is something that, according to the code of conduct, this is already not correct. It has to go to a process of a committee process. Look at the accusation. There is a defense, and then everything done. Then the final decision is not ethical. It has got to be like that. It cannot be something that I decide that he's not ethical or he say he's not ethical. Then there is something that we can manage. We can advise. Don't do it next time. Or you have taken the money, or you have received the money. Give it back. So that then it will be clear. But it's not something that need to be reported if it is a mistake that can be corrected. But if it is something that cannot be corrected, like for example, need to be reported, IEM is as a member, the most IEM can do is to kick you out from IEM because it's a society. But BEM, Board of Engineers, because BEM is the regulator, the least they can do is probably to discipline you, to take back to suspend you. You cannot practice as an engineer for 1 year or whatever. Then they will give you back. But the worst is they will strike you out from the register, and you will not be able to practice as an engineer. That is the worst. Or maybe there are some fines. But that has got to go through the process, the so-called judiciary process. It's not about we say it's right or wrong, but we should be guided. To come to the judgment, it has to go to a judiciary process. But for us, when we do the work, we have to be guided by the ethical code of conduct.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Fuad. Haji Mahdi, you want to add a little bit?
Just perhaps a little bit add on there. Yes, like what Dr. Fuad said, you may advise him either you want to report or not. To me, I would look at the extent of the problem that he is in. Okay, sometimes people might be doing something unethical, like you mentioned here, and he knows his fault, and he will say, he will promise that he will correct his way. So you will have to see the extent of damage that has happened. Okay, is that something that needs to be shared with your superior? I guess problems to company is reporting to the company is reporting to your superior, yeah? So you need to see, because at the end of the day, sometimes people like this require help. Sometimes people like this require management leverage to help them, to assist them conducting their work. There is a reason why people are doing things unethically. Okay, so if it's something that can be helped and company can help out to do this, then yes, you should by all means discuss with your superiors and see what can we do to assist this person so that he can go to the correct way and correctly go that way. Okay, so this is what I think.
Okay, thank you very much, both of you, for the response. Can we have the next question, please? Okay, here comes from Sam Nurizrin. Assalamualaikum, doctor. Have you ever had an experience with difficult client, employer or employee? How did you handle the situation? Let me direct the question to Hajah Mahani first.
Okay, thank you, Sam for the question. Waalaikumsalam. Oh yes, difficult client, definitely. Difficult employer, yes. Difficult employee, of course, yes. Okay. Employer and employee. Well, employee, when I was employed last time, yes, I do have a lot of difficult employees to work with. Okay. And by the nature of the job that I do at that time, I am also an auditee. I'm an auditor. Okay, so I'm not only an auditor, I'm a lead auditor. Okay, so I lead a team who will probe you asking questions, and nobody likes that. But I was also an engineer that implement things. So we need things for you to do. For example, as an employee, and there are many resistant employees for at the company. Now, for employer, yes. Now as a consultant, I would see. Wouldn't call the employer, but more on the client, because my employer that I had before was not that difficult. I have only one situation, or probably two situations where the employer was difficult, but I don't have any issues in dealing with them because I report to higher level than that person. So it is a lot easier for me to tackle the situation because of my reporting structure. But for clients, yes, we do have difficult clients. So let's back to how do you handle this? When you handle difficult people, there is a okay. This is not something that you're born with. You need to learn how to handle difficult people. So go and go and read, go and study how to handle difficult people, because there is a technical method on how to do it. Okay. Now, one of the easiest thing to do is to understand why, be empathy with that person. Why is that person being difficult with you? Okay, so there is always a reason why this thing happened. I have a colleague before where everybody has problems working with this person. I come to to an extent that if I were to go and ask someone to audit this person, that someone will say, Mahani, can you please can you please swap my audit? I will take 4 audits in replacement to this one audit. Okay, because they don't want to audit this person. Okay, and I say, so what's the big deal? What's the problem? So I went to see him. I went to see that person, and yes, that person is damn difficult to. Sorry, it's very difficult to work with. And when you ask questions, they become defensive straight away. They become abusive when they answer questions, and that can happen. And luckily at that time, I had the chance to actually learn how to handle these people. So I was calm. You need to be calm, okay, when you handle these people. You need to be calm and be objective. Why are you there? Okay, what is it that you want from this person? Don't ask questions that will be related to emotional issues. Okay, ask question is factual. Okay, ask question where they can show evidence. Okay, so these are the things that you do. Be factual with that person. So you don't have to be nice to them. You know, working with people that you like will make your life easier, but you don't have to like that person to be working with that person. Okay, so when you don't when that person doesn't like you, you don't like that person, you still have to perform. So you must know your objective, why you are there. Okay, so do your work, make take all the data that you need, and don't put your emotions in it. So I will always say, don't use your right brain, always use your left brain. Okay, because your right brain controls more of your emotion, and your left brain controls more of your thinking. So put that thinking in more than your emotions. Don't feel like, oh, I'm so sad because this person is saying things to me. You don't have to feel anything. Put your feelings aside. Okay, just use your brain and be straightforward and say that, okay, I'm gonna get this. It's not easy, yeah. So it's something that you need to learn along the way. So difficult employees are the same thing. Why are they being difficult with you? There must be a reason, and sometimes you have to understand why they are like that. So I have opportunities when I was working last time, because I was in charge of 7 countries. So I work with many people of lower level as well. So the workers, and I like to sit down with them just to know, just to understand them. And there are people that can actually open up and say things. They can be difficult, but when you are one to one with them, they are not that difficult actually. So you need to understand what is it. Friends can influence you. You can be difficult with your friends, but when you're alone, you're not. Okay, so again, be objective. And don't be afraid of handling difficult people. An important thing is how to handle those people. Okay, get common things that you know. And very easy common thing is talking about their family, you know, or don't talk about their wife, talk about their their kids, talk about their cats, talk about their houses, you know, but don't talk about, you know, something that is, you know, emotionally attached to them. Okay, so yeah, that's what I can say.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Hajah Mahdi. I agree a lot with what you said, and I hear something. Okay, it's okay. Okay, so the students are now allocated inside a team. So I believe the student have to be able to learn the skills how to deal with their teammates and so on. So inshallah, this will help them as well. So we are trying to guide them to have this human skill, empathy, and so on. All right.
Yes.
I think we will move on to the next question because we have some amount of questions. I think. Okay. This comes from Chai Hao Jing. If an engineer failed to obey the regulations of DEM and EM, will he or she being disqualified as an engineer? Definitely, this must go to Dr. Fuad.
Okay.
Can you answer
As
this?
yeah, I have said this. Maybe it was not the sort of I didn't catch. You didn't catch what I said. BEM is the regulator. So if you are you sort of are being disqualified, or you have been proven to be unethical through the due process, after the process you are judged, or you are, board decided you have, great, you have broken the rule, or whatever. It can be ethical, it can be also about fraud, about anything. You will be deregistered from the register of engineers, and then you would be disqualified as an engineer. That means you cannot work as an engineer. It is by the board of engineers. Okay, but if it is IEM, the institution of engineers, which is a society, the worst you can get punished by IEM is IEM will cancel your membership, so you cannot become a member of IEM, any category of membership. That's all. But BEM can actually disqualify you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Fuad. Okay, I have here another question from Aziz. If we have a situation when there is a problem and the supervisor knows, but he didn't tell the manager until he solved the problem, what will be my action then? You want to take this question, or you want me to answer this question?
I think you answer lah.
Okay, I answer. So I'm now the third panel. Okay, Aziz. Okay, I'll just read this question again. If we have a situation when there is a problem and the supervisor knows but he didn't tell the manager until he solved the problem, what will be my action? Depending on the situation, if the situation is critical, and if the delay in responding or solving the problem is a real issue, then maybe you should inform the manager. However, if the situation is not that critical and no serious damage can be done, it's okay. Maybe the supervisor is having some other difficulties or some problems, some issues that he need to attend to, and that's the reason why he was not actually doing the rectification of the problem. Then that's fine. I mean, if the damage is not that tremendous, but if the problem is big, huge, then and the problem is not being solved yet, maybe you need to inform, right? So but you can discuss and negotiate with the person, the supervisor, so that try to understand what is actually wrong and try to advise him accordingly. So I think that's basically it. Sometimes we need to have some human touch. We cannot just how to say. Sometimes, of course, we have books, we have regulations, but sometimes we need to have empathy as well. Okay, so I hope that answers a little bit. And we have 5 more questions, so we want to rush the questions. Okay. Tan Gao Ji was asking, what is the best relation between contractor and engineer? Is there any advice for us to stay ethical while on good terms with contractors? Okay, I'm opening this. Who want to answer this question? Okay, maybe Haja has the biggest smile, so
I'm always smiling. Okay. Thank you, Tan, for the question. Well, actually, there is no advice. how to stay ethical, because you can just stay ethical and have good terms with the contractor. It is more difficult to be unethical actually with your contractor if you are really working in your workplace. Now, whenever you have a contractor working with you, you stick on to the fact that it is work. Okay, it's nothing personal. Okay, you do your work, you execute your work correctly, and then you check correctly. Be factual, as I said earlier. Yeah, so don't put too much emotion in it, like nak jaga hati kind of thing, right? So you don't have to have this kind of thing. So if you need to deliver a certain thing, yes, you just deliver them. If you run into a problem, then solve the problem. Okay, don't go into a situation where the contractor ran into a problem, and you tell the contractor, oh, I think I can solve this with some condition, that kind of thing. You don't have to put all these things, because just be objective in what you do. Okay, so it is a lot easier to be truthful, as I was telling a lot of time. Don't start lying, be honest in what you do, because it will take you a long way. People, even the contractor, will respect you more, because they know that they can get to you, they know they can seek advice to you, and the advice you are giving is actually a good one, and not because of any other interest. So yeah, so that's how I think you should act.
Okay, thank you very much, Haja.
I agree with that. I think if as an engineer you stay, you are always on your ethical ground. You do things properly. You don't what you say. You don't you don't make trouble for the contractor, because some
Yeah.
engineers, they just want to create problem with the contractor. So because they have inner motive. You see, contractor will read you. If you are being truthful, you are telling the truth, you're always on the doing the right thing, they will know how to deal with you. The problem is sometimes when you see a new contractor, sometimes you find this, you do the job and this contractor is new, he doesn't know you, and you actually trying to correct his work. You say, when you supervise, you say, okay, this is not correct and so on. Actually, it's not correct. You ask the contractor to make good. Sometimes this contractor, because they are so used to maybe many occasions before, they say when the engineer is making trouble for him, that means the engineer is signaling that the engineer wants money. See? So say this, this engineer, they always make trouble because unless you give him some, they call what, some grease or whatever, some pelinche or whatever,
Yeah.
then he will always make trouble for you. But if you are being truthful, you do your work correctly, after some time the contractor will know who you are, what you stand for, whether you are ethical or non-ethical. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we have is this among the last questions, or I think we have 2 or 3 more questions. So I hope the panel can answer briefly because we are running out of time. Okay, when will you be deemed qualified to come out with public statement and criticism? This comes from Darwinesh Gunalaraj.
Okay, let me answer, because this is what I brought up earlier. What you will be deemed qualified if you are the spokesman, say for a department or for a company. Then you are allowed to make a statement, or you are the supervising engineer of the project, and the owner has allowed you to make that statement. That means you are qualified. That means you have to ensure before you make a public statement or even criticism that all the parties involved in that issue have agreed that you are the right person to make that public statement. Otherwise, don't make any statement, because public statement is very, very sensitive. It may cause many things that we don't expect.
Okay, thank you very much. Haja, we go to the next question, okay? Okay, this comes from Ching Siu Yong. about the statement, our responsibility as an engineer is to public rather than our boss. How far do you agree with it? Okay, Haja.
How far do I agree with it? In a way, I agree. It's, obviously, your responsibility as an engineer is to make sure the welfare of the public is taken care of as well, because your decision affects them. Now, how about to your boss? Yes, of course, you have to also be agreeable with your boss. But what the problem here is when your boss is doing unethical things. Okay, this is the challenge. So basically, you need to have the ethical conduct as an engineer. We keep on stressing this. Don't do something that you're not supposed to do. Do the right thing. Have a moral. Have make decisions that are morally correct. You know, and when your boss comes in and say do something that is not right, then you should go back to your ethical values. Okay, so yes, it is in a way you of course you need to make sure the public is okay, taken care of, but your boss should be also taken care of. But if they are asking you to do something that's not correct, then you should stick your guns and say, I'm not going to do it. Okay, so be an ethical engineer.
All right, fantastic. Can we have the last question? Is it? No, not this question. Yeah, I think this is the last question. Okay. So this comes from Sorashish Goshal. This is my student. I have my student, few of my students just now ask questions. Well. Okay, is it possible to create a perfect world where not just engineers but individuals from all careers and fields will be able to efficiently, effectively, and purely collaborate? Wow, this is a very philosophical question. Okay, maybe I pass to Dr. Fuad first, and then maybe after that, Hajah Mahadi can chip in. But maybe briefly. Okay, over to you, Dr.
So Rashid, so Rashid,
Yeah.
you are very very idealistic.
Yes, he is. I agree.
We can't do that. I have said that human nature, the evil always fight the good, and the falsehood always fight the truth. So it's going to go on like that. Sometimes you are lucky, you find your boss is good, and the boss also agree with you that we should protect the public. But sometimes you find the boss is not good, and you will have to face the situation of good against evil. So this is always part of life as we go on. So I don't think we can achieve that. The answer is no.
Okay, thank you. Hajah Mani, you want to chip in anything?
Well, just a short one. You know, when you are
Alright.
in a difficult situation, when you are trying to fight evil and you're the good, okay, just remember that this is a test for you. It is the test to actually making you stronger and a better person. Okay, so it's not like you're going to physically fight a person, but it's actually a test on how you handle the situation. Okay, how you get yourself out of it, how you actually take the most of the situation to be more mature in becoming an engineer. So you cannot run away from having this situation where you're going to be, good against evil kind of thing. Okay, it's going to be there every time, everywhere, all your life. But always remember, whenever you do something good, you will be stronger. And when you have to face something bad, even if you're making mistakes, it's gonna make you a better person.
Okay, thank you very much, Hajah Mani. Thank you very much, Dr. Fuad. So we reached to the end of the session. I would like to first say thank you to all the participants, the students, for being here until the end, and also our deepest gratitude to our beloved Dr. Fuad, and also very experienced Dr. Fuad. Okay, very experienced guy, very wise guy, and then also very professional lady. Okay, Hajah Mahani. So I am very very honored to have you to be the moderator for this session. And once again, to the participants, we are sorry if there are a few questions that we cannot entertain because of time constraint, but maybe our team can try to answer it later on at the comment section. And to all of you who have not maybe perhaps subscribe or like our YouTube channel, please do so. We are going to produce more and more contents that is very good and very beneficial, philosophical perhaps, and so on. Okay, so I think that's all for now. In 2 weeks' time, we are going to have another talk, and that will be advertised to the students. All right, so I think that's all for now. Thank you very much for again to Dr. Fuad and also Hajamani for spending time here. And I think that's it. So I'll just end the session with wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, and very good afternoon. Bye bye.
Yeah. Assalamualaikum. Thank you.
Salam.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum everyone.